And next up, we have Brian View, who is president and COO with FinLocker, and he is going to be telling us all about what's going on with them. So how are you doing today, Brian?
I am doing awesome, Tony. Great to be here. Thanks for having us.
Excellent.
Ready for me to roll, huh?
I am ready for you to roll. Hit it.
All right. So for those of you that were in Terranea or at the Terranea Resort, I gave a similar overview of FinLocker, but I thought it'd be helpful just to kind of take everybody back through. So FinLocker is a B2B2C consumer-facing financial app. So we custom private label our product and platform for our lender clients. So our vision is really to create financial fitness for the next generation American consumer. Said another way, millennials, help them build wealth through home ownership, starting with their first home purchase. What we'll talk through with these slides today is really going to anchor on the use case of a first-time home buyer. So I think, as everyone's aware, as you're wrapping up 2021 and planning for 2022, I'm sure everyone's budgeting and projecting a change and a shift in the mortgage origination market, more to a purchase-focused business model. And inside that purchase business, it's clear that the largest segment and a growing segment of purchase volume will come from first-time home buyers. We've seen reported estimates of upwards of 4 million first-time home buyers annually over the next 3 to 5 years. And according to Fannie Mae, on a study that they've conducted, at least a third of those first-time home buyers still lack the knowledge and understanding of the entire process. And then there remains a significant gap in terms of the denial rate for racial minorities versus non-minorities. FinLocker seeks to help answer questions that consumers have and create more clarity for all borrowers. So first-time homebuyers are faced with many questions. How much can I afford? What expenses should I plan for? What kind of down payment do I need? Should I be improving other parts of my financial fitness? Our app, again, private labeled in our lenders ecosystem, helps answer these questions for consumers. And we do that on top of the consumer's direct source data. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that as we go through this presentation. So once in the FinLocker app, the consumer now can start to get organized financially. And part of getting organized financially allows them to set financial goals, budgets, understand their current spending. We have an integrated, embedded solution for real estate search. There's a deep library of education content focused on the home buying and mortgage process. Again, sitting on top of a consumer's direct source data, we have dynamic calculators that help consumers understand how much they can afford, what their payments would be across multiple scenarios. We have a mortgage readiness assessment that perpetually analyzes a consumer's data and gives them clarity and transparency on their path towards readiness. And finally, once a consumer has reached that mortgage readiness place, they can actually start the mortgage application process from their app and securely share data and documents to their lender. We'll talk a little bit more about that. For lenders, this is really the landscape of what you're competing with in terms of where consumers are going for education and tools today, especially first-time home buyers. Consumers are going to the Mints, the Zillows, the Credit Sesames, NerdWallets, et cetera, for things like budgeting, understanding and modeling changes to their credit or improvement to their credit, education, calculators, real estate search, et cetera. When they're going to one or more of these apps today, the consumer is essentially the product. They are going to be made offers and sold, if you will, as a lead to other financial services providers. What we've built at FinLocker is this concept of a financial super app that brings in much of the feature functionality that consumers go to these apps for into one environment. Again, that environment is custom white labeled. We are a native app on both iOS and Android, and our clients can actually create a product name for their app. So as an example, if you were to go to the App Store today and search for FinLocker, you would see a FinLocker branded app. That's our own app that we use for friends and family and for demos. And then you'll see a series of other apps like FinFit, GoBag, FutureLock. Those are all products that we built for our customers, and now they have an app in the App Store that they can direct consumers to. Once a consumer is in this super app and they're doing budgeting and they're doing search and they're doing the other things that they're doing that they would do in these other apps, they're kind of moated, if you will. You've got a moat around that consumer, and so they're not going to be picked off by other financial services companies. In the scope of a first-time home buyer, we think there's 4 leading indicators that would signal that a consumer is beginning the home buying and mortgage application process. One is real estate search. It's pretty obvious. Consumers go online, they start searching for real estate. That's a signal that they're likely, contemplating buying a home. Consumers start to interact with their credit, whether they're, linking to a free credit report, using other apps that are out there to model changes to their credit score, credit report, et cetera. They're starting to wanting to understand where they are from a credit perspective. That's another signal that someone's starting to enter that home buying phase. Researching product and pricing. So going for online calculators, whether it's LendingTree or Bankrate or other places, to understand what a payment would be, how much can I afford? And then finally, consumers that are getting deeper into that process really start to understand their own personal cash flow and what it would look like and feel like to actually own a home and have a mortgage. These 4 tasks, if you will, or indicators that consumers do today in disparate places are all features and functionality that we have in FinLocker. So when a lender has deployed FinLocker to its prospects and customers well up the funnel, and they start to do one or more of these things, the only lender that knows that the consumer is doing these things is the lender that's deployed the locker. So again, this is a place to put a moat around your prospects and frankly, provide very value-added tools to those same prospects. I'm going to skip ahead to a couple slides here and talk about some use cases. So in the mortgage vertical, FinLocker provides our lender clients multiple use cases to deploy the locker. In the upper left of this screen, you've got first-time home buyers and not quite ready borrowers. And what does that mean? So the first-time home buyers, we've kind of been talking about it so far. It's those consumers who are months away from being ready, that are starting to get organized around buying a home and getting a mortgage. So the locker provides tools around education, access to their credit, the ability to see their entire financial life in one place, et cetera, create budgets and goals that help them prepare for that home buying process. But in addition to first-time home buyers, as it relates to up the funnel, consumers who come into a lender's pipeline or to a loan officer and aren't quite ready due to credit, DTI, lack of assets, or some combination thereof, this is also a great use case to deploy the locker to help that consumer address whatever's holding them back from being ready. FinLocker is not a one and done transactional app. We're not a point of sale where its value ends once the loan is closed. The locker lives on. It's more of an evergreen financial app for the consumer, where they'll continue to derive value from the app, and therefore it becomes an extension of a lender's customer for life strategy. So much of the same feature functionality that's useful to a consumer up the funnel remains useful after the loan closes. But in addition to understanding credit and seeing your entire financial life in one place, we now bring in the property value from the home that they purchased. So now we really bring a comprehensive view of the consumer's entire personal P&L, if you will. And then we also have some use cases in the servicing space, both emerging in the loss mitigation area, but also for depositories, creating a platform to cross-sell mortgage customers other products and services that financial institution may offer. For the consumer, there is a myriad of feature functionality and benefit that they'll derive in the locker. I like to start at 11 o'clock and work my way counterclockwise. Consumers in the locker have access to their credit score, credit report, real-time monitoring and alerts, and an additional feature that we didn't note on this slide that we just launched in late November is Credit Simulator. with Credit Simulator, a consumer in the locker can simulate changes to their credit score by making some assumptions around paying down or off a credit card, opening a new line of credit, things like that. So they can simulate changes to their credit score. It's a great engagement tool, and frankly, a great tool for those early journey first-time home buyers who are just starting to understand more about their credit. Working our way around the dashboard view. This is speaking to the ability for a consumer to see their entire financial life in one app. So the consumer is able to link financial accounts on both sides of the ledger, assets and liabilities. So checking, savings, investment, 401k, IRAs, life insurance on the asset side, and then charge cards, personal card charges, or personal loans, HELOCs, mortgages, auto loans, student loans, all can be linked, representing the liability side, giving the consumer a single pane of glass view of their entire financial life. Once those accounts are linked, the app has several features and benefits now, kind of feeding off of the data from those linked accounts. Things like spending analysis, tools for budgeting, and tools for creating goals for saving for college, a new car, or in the case of a first-time home buyer, saving for down payment and closing costs for a new home. As I mentioned earlier, we have a library of education content focused on the home buying and mortgage process. We've built a Perpetual mortgage readiness assessment that is analyzing the consumer's data across multiple dimensions. It's a combination of consumer contributed data from their profile, as well as consumer permission direct source data from their linked accounts, assets, liabilities, et cetera. And we're also launching the ability for a consumer to link their payroll. So you'll have in a locker this concept of a verified borrower across 5 dimensions in the locker, including payroll or income, employment, assets, credit, and identity. Consumers are also able to store documents. So as part of the first-time homebuyer journey, the locker will prompt consumers to store certain documents at various stages as they're progressing towards readiness. And once that consumer reaches mortgage readiness, and it could be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, maybe 18 months down the road, the user can now securely share data and documents from their locker directly with their originator. FinLocker creates a Fannie 3.4 MISMO compliant data set, as well as we'll share across those PDFs and an asset report from those any linked bank accounts that are in the locker. Today, we're providing a lender roughly 85 to 90% of the data needed to pre-fill a 1003. Also available for the consumer in the locker is real estate search. So again, as part of that first-time homebuyer journey, once they've achieved readiness or are nearing readiness, they can actually search for homes that are on the MLS directly from the locker. And then also, once they become a homeowner, that home that they purchased becomes an asset in the locker as well as a liability when they link their mortgage, and we track the value of that home as well as recently sold homes near the subject. Who we are, we're a team with over 100 years of mortgage industry expertise. We have a passion for helping consumers become financially fit specifically for home buying and getting mortgages. We're made up of a team of millennials and Gen Z, so folks that are interacting and using apps like FinLocker and are in that kind of first-time home buying age. And the last statement here, I love to share this. We love using new tech to solve old problems better. There's no older problem than mortgage readiness, frankly. And then just a quick slide on some of the usage we see in our current products. So our FinLocker mobile app 3.0 has been in the market since the summer. This slide just talking about some different metrics around what we see in the app. The average time the user spends in the app is just over 6 minutes. They spend about a little bit over a minute on each page or widget, if you will. Our mobile versus desktop, this is an older metric on the far right. At the time we ran this, which was I think about 45 days ago, roughly 62% of our users were on mobile, the balance using the desktop or web app. It's actually closer to 70% now, as our mobile app is getting more and more traction in the market. Last thing I would share before I wrap up, right on time, mind you, Tony. If anyone's interested in learning more, please visit our website, finlocker.com. But if you actually want to experience the app itself, shoot me an email, first name.lastname, brian.view@finlocker.com. and we'll send you an invite so you can test out your own version of FinLocker. Thank you again, TMC, for having us on today. I appreciate it. And thanks everybody for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Brian. Appreciate that. Yes, I love your efficiency. You are always on time and on point. So thank you. Appreciate that so much. One of the questions, have you had any, or do your clients have pushback on all the information that, people are putting in there? Because,
oh, yeah.
That
great question.
Your bank, as soon as you said bank account, I'm like, okay, how do you do that?
So what's interesting is, younger consumers have less hesitancy to engage with financial apps like FinLocker, and are more apt to link accounts just for the convenience sake. One of the questions we often get, and maybe this is the specific question, is, so this is a custom white label solution. It's deployed by ABC Mortgage. ABC Mortgage can't necessarily see Brian's content in my locker until I expressly consent to share specific content in the case of our use case for a mortgage application. So we have multiple layers of consent that occur. The first consent happens when a consumer downloads, they accept the terms and conditions. Our lender client can see activity, milestones, achievements, kind of progress, if you will, on that consumer, but not specific financial data in that consumer's locker. Later in the process, when that consumer is actually ready to start an application with that lender, they will expressly consent to share a set of data. That was that MISMO compliant data set I described with the lender. And that's the only set of data at that point the lender is going to see, is when that consumer consents to share it and then the lender accepts it.
Makes sense. Thank you so much. And I would think that since it's white labeled as well, so I mean, they're already dealing with a trusted company.
That's right.
That certainly does open up, a more willingness to share that information.
Exactly right. FinLocker, we're not a B2C platform. Everything 99% of the lockers that we have enrolled are enrolled through one of our lender partners on their branded version of the platform.
Excellent. Great. Well, thank you so much, Brian. Really do appreciate it. Once again, appreciate Brian. FinLocker's one of the newer members of TMC, and we're really, really thankful that you guys are here and the value that you bring to all of our TMC partners and our lender members. So thank you very much for that. Appreciate it.
I just noticed your T-shirt. One of my favorite characters in the Christmas cartoons, Yukon Cornelius.
Yes, Yukon Cornelius Outfitters. It's
I love it.
Outfitters.
So cool.
So there you go. Trying to be on theme, right? Okay. Well, great. Thank you so much, Brian. Appreciate
Thanks, everybody.
that.